Pam Bondi will start.
Speaker Gingrich, thank you for being here tonight. Your plan for empowering local neighborhood boards to decide if certain illegal immigrants can stay in our country has been criticized on the ground that it could undermine the rule of law and encourage more illegal immigrants to come to our country. How do you respond to those claims?
Well, first of all, the Selective Service Board model that this was based on did not undermine the rule of law. It implemented the draft in World War II with great sensitivity, and it allowed local people, much like a jury trial, it allowed local citizens to render judgment about local people in what was seen as a very effective model. Second, I'm suggesting that this only apply to people who've been here a very long time, who have a real tie to the local community, and we're exploring the idea that they would actually have to have a family sponsoring them to be eligible for review. Now, to suggest that a model that only works after 20 or 25 years is going to be a magnet, I think is nonsense, particularly because in addition to controlling the border, which is part of my plan, we also have a provision for a guest worker program that would be legal and that would be implemented by American Express or Visa or MasterCard in terms of the cards, so you wouldn't have fraud, as you will in the federal government. And so if you're a brand new person looking to come to the U.S. for economic reasons, you'd have a legal point of entry, and there'd be no reason to believe anybody's going to be able to get across the border to stay here illegally for 20 or 25 years to someday around 2037 be eligible for review.
And of course the border is very, very important, but you spoke of jury trials, and as a former 20-year prosecutor, my concern is putting friends and neighbors in the position of judging their friends to determine if they can stay in this country.
That is what we do in a jury trial. That's the whole point. That's why the founding fathers who distrusted judges insisted on juries, because ultimately in a free society, the citizens have to bear responsibility for their own culture and their own society, and ultimately I believe they are more trustworthy. If you ask me, would I trust a jury or a Washington bureaucrat? I would rather have my fate decided by a jury of my peers than have my fate decided by a Washington bureaucrat.
Governor, as the governor of Texas, expenses for health care, incarceration, and Medicaid as it relates to illegal immigration have cost each of our states billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Should the federal government be required to reimburse the states for that cost, and if not, why?
We send them a bill every year and yet to be paid for it, and I'm sure that the governor did the same when he was in Arkansas. The real issue here goes back to border security again, and that is the reason that we as governors and you as attorney generals have to deal with these issues, is because of the abject failure of our federal government to defend and secure that border. I've been dealing with this for over 10 years now. Sheriff Arpaio, he endorsed me last week in the campaign because he said, you know what, this is the one guy that actually understands how to secure that border. And that is what we have to do as a country, a president that is committed to securing that border. We know how to do it. We just don't have the resources for a 1,200-mile border to secure it the way that it needs to be done. The strategic fencing, the boots on the ground, the aviation assets in the air, and you can secure that border. I have made the commitment that 12 months after being inaugurated as president, that border will be shut down, Governor, and it'll be secure.
I mean, Governor, it's clear that you're passionate about enforcing the border, but it's also clear that the federal government has refused to do its job.
Absolutely.
So would you favor allowing the states to be able to sue the federal government to reimburse their costs?
Absolutely. But at the end of the day, that will become a non-issue, Scott, because we will secure the border. And at that particular point in time, all of these issues that we've been facing as governors will start being eliminated.
Congresswoman, thank you for being here. You have pledged to deport all 11 million illegal aliens. Homeland Security tells us that will cost $135 billion. Tell us first how you plan to pay for that and how you will execute that plan.
Well, first of all, I want people to know that there is a cost already to having illegal aliens in the United States. It costs us, the taxpayers, $113 billion every year, and $32 billion of that cost is absorbed by the states. And that actually works out to about $1,000 per American household. It's a very real cost. And I agree, this is the thorniest, most difficult issue in dealing with illegal immigration. What about deportation? I believe that we should uphold the laws of the land, which does include deportation. How do we pay for it? The American taxpayer will have to pay.
And what is your plan for executing it?
For executing that?
Yes,
well,
for carrying out the plan.
Okay, good question. It would be enforcement both at the border but also by the ICE agents. Right now, essentially, our ICE agents, those are the agents in the interior of the country who are tasked with enforcing the laws. They're not enforcing them. And we also have sanctuary cities now where they don't enforce the laws either on deportation. I think what we simply need to do is just start enforcing those laws, which we aren't doing, and then begin the process of deportation.
And as Attorney General of the state of Florida, my fear is that that money will get dumped on my state.
I don't blame you. And it must not, because if you look at Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, what Congress can do, a specific enumerated power is that the government needs to deal with securing with the border. That is the federal government's role. It's not the state's role. And so it's very important that it's the federal government that pays for this cost. That's been the burden. As I said, the cost every year is $113 billion, but the states are bearing $82 billion. The federal government needs to pay for the deportation costs.
And Governor Romney, to change subject, as you know, there are countless illegal immigrants coming into my state in Florida. Given the federal government's complete failure to do their constitutional duty and protect my state in securing the border, what should Florida do to address this problem?
Pam, my view is that states have a responsibility to care for the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness of their citizens. And if the federal government is failing to fulfill its responsibility to enforce immigration laws, then states should have to take action. In my state, when I was governor, I took action. There was an effort on the part of the legislature to pass a bill providing in-state tuition to illegal immigrants. I vetoed that. There was discussion about driver's licenses for illegal immigrants. I said no way. I actually empowered our state police to work with ICE to be able to carry out federal immigration laws to make sure that we found people who were in our state illegally, that had committed crimes, and got them out of the country. I think we're going to have to recognize, however, that the federal government's going to have to step up and do its job. Secure the border, crack down on employers that don't do the job.